So, moving on to, now I must admit, I've kind of been keeping up with this, but at the same time, not fully. But there's a writer's strike going on. The main problem that writers have, and I've got to try and say this with a straight face, is they are worried about the whole chat GTP thing, whatever it is, of artificial intelligence writing stories. Now, what I have read about this is somebody made a comment on Twitter, and they said that chat GTP can only regurgitate old ideas and present them as their own. And I thought, so the Disney writers aren't on strike then? Because obviously, on the one hand, I appreciate the creativity that goes into writing, and computer intelligence at the moment can't come up with new ideas. It does sort of, scan from old ideas. So I see where the writers are angry, but I don't know whether the companies are trying to screw the writers out of money if a lot of the work is done by the chat GTP. Have you kept up with this at all?
Well, I guess I thought that they were going on strike because of streaming revenue, and
Okay, it might be.
I thought that was a big part of it. Well, I guess I should have researched. But why are the writers on strike? Thank God there's this.
If you keep talking and stop drawing attention to it, I can read it and give you the information. I'll get it from scanning. No, the cash was
besides being a bunch of insufferable, complaining, whining crybabies. Besides that, budgets have increased, series have increased, and the writer's share of the money has consistently shrunk. I gotta say, they probably got a point, because all the stories suck. I'm looking at you, Star Trek, everything.
Again, this is what gets me. It's kind of how Disney have just fired 7,000 people because they've been hemorrhaging money so badly. Because they have been churning out utter garbage, they've been losing money. And so they're now blaming the writers. And it is kind of, right, that I agree with, because it is the writer's fault. But who hired them all in the first place? It's the same as the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing. Ultimately, if you fired her, you would be getting rid of a huge problem right away.
Well, this is why I don't like unions, Just pay me and we'll negotiate me, right? For whatever I do.
Yeah.
But, they make these contracts whenever they make them. I think the last writer's strike was back in 2008. So, and then before that, I don't know, it's a long time ago. But even the one in 2008 probably just restructured some of the contract from the earlier one. And so, okay, that's great when everybody's doing a seasonal calendar and you have shows starting in September and ending in May, and then there's a very specific way that things come out on home video. 2008, there was no such thing as a streaming service.
No.
Now, everybody watches anything whenever the hell they want. And when they release shows, well, I guess we'll release Picard in February and it'll get done in March or April.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the calendar? And then everybody watches it afterwards as much as they want, or they binge it. So you look at this contract, it doesn't, follow any of that, or it doesn't have any of that. Now, you take on top of that the Disney, all the studios are putting all their money into technical stuff, CG and all that, not doing a great job of it in some cases. But the point
last
is,
week's stream for that. Sorry.
Yeah, no kidding. But the point is that they have devalued scripting and story, and it's really a shame. And I want to kind of dovetail into this. I've been rewatching Star Trek Voyager, which I am finding is not nearly as bottom tier as I thought it was. It has some bad episodes in it, but for the most part, the story structure, the characterizations, the pacing, everything is done really well. Even on the crap episodes, at least I'm following it, and I have some sort of investment sometimes. And you know, I feel like there's a good structure and all the basics are there so that you are at least invested in the story. And one of the guys that seemed to write on this show a number of episodes, and many of them are very, very good, is Brian Fuller. Now, I bring him up because when Eggy and I had one of our original "Why is Star Trek so bad?" We know it's bad, but why? That's the title. I went through and I looked at all these writers that are working on the new stuff. Brian Fuller is one of them. And I made a mention. I was looking to see if he was woke and that kind of stuff. I didn't go in depth enough on what he had done before. I said he worked on a little Star Trek before. I didn't realize how much Voyager he actually did. The man knows how to write. So what changed? Why is Discovery such shit now when he's writing on that as well? Now, I know he's not working in a vacuum, but my point is he must have enough seniority and enough pull, given his lengthy resume, to make better TV than this. And so is it because of this cult woke nonsense? Is it because they're not paying these guys what they're worth anymore, and they're putting them on such crap schedules that they can't get this stuff worth the quality? Is it a combination of all these things? I mean, it's, you know, I just started pulling apart the strings and unpacking some of this as I started looking into it. And I'm like, well, why is these writers that have worked for so long making such garbage now?
It is interesting. Setlick has just said there, fire all the woke writers, pay based on success. The woke failures will naturally get a lower play scale. And unions work against merit pay. They are specifically designed to destroy the idea of merit pay. It's such a shame though, because ultimately, like I say, if you make a hit film, like for example, it's just a sort of stupid example, but I mean, with Star Wars, Lucas said, "I'll take 1% of the gross." Because of that, he is now a billionaire. Okay, if Star Wars had failed, he'd have made nothing. And that kind of, for me, that kind of works. You know, if you make something,
and he says, and I'll keep all the merchandising rights, which is really what made him a billionaire. But go ahead.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, though. Is it still a case of that? You know, the whole thing was a success, and so because of that, he made money off it. And so when shows are terrible and badly written and don't get viewing figures, they should ultimately, that's not the problem with the CG guys, it's not the problem with the actors, anything else, it's down to the writers. And so they should say, right, that show was actually a failure, so we're only going to pay you X amount because we didn't make any money on it. But that's one of those things that just, you know, obviously is not going to happen. Yeah, and I mean, you know, you could write forever and just, when are you going to actually get somebody to take a chance on your work to make a show? And then once you get into a writer's room, that your stuff won't be, you know, torn apart and bastardized by various other writers, the director, the producers, the suits, everything else. I mean, there's probably one horror story after another. I've seen it where a guy writes a script, and by the time it gets through the machine, the movie that comes out, it's like, well, I think the character's name is the same, or it sounds the same. They even spelled it differently. You know, I mean, it's like, it's that bad. But then conversely, my argument with that, the corporations have got such a hold over what gets made that independent cinema, I'm going to say companies like, say, A24, who are, you know, becoming a major player now, but A24 are an independent company that they take a chance on people. You know, that Marcel with shoes on, that was, okay, a very popular, you know, it's a viral video and everything else. And so they made it. And I know they're doing another one called the Yellow Room, I think it is, of a guy who's just made some stuff at home, which has been really popular on YouTube, but they're taking a chance on him. But when it comes to places like Disney, they won't do that. They will just stick within their own little bubble and try and create their own thing. Yeah, I missed it. There's nobody taking chances on movies that people, general audiences will respond to. Yeah. And I don't mean, like, A24, I love them, but the closest they've made that really get people responding to it was probably Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everything else they make is so up its own ass. I mean, they make shit like Lamb. Not everything. I will grant you some of it, but not everything. Because I mean, again, some of their movies have just been fantastic.
I'm going to say that most of them have been fantastic. Even though the Hereditary and some of these others, they strike a chord. There's a lot of good stuff in them, but they're not exactly fun for the whole family either. And they used to take chances on things like that ended up becoming hugely popular with everybody. Back to the Future was a huge freaking chance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It really was.
It could have gone either way.
I mean, if you didn't know anything about it, somebody says, "Yeah, we're going to make a funny time machine movie where a guy uses a car,
time, kisses his mom,
kisses his mom." Out of your mind? Hangs out with this old creepy guy all the time. This teenage boy. It's really. What are you?
There's a guy.
But no, it worked perfectly. It was one of those, as we say, perfect movies, and we don't see them taking a chance on things like that anymore. They're either doing stale, old, predictable. We've seen it 1,000 times before to try and just get butts in the seat and just lather it with a lot of CGI so that people will stay starry-eyed.
Oh, it's pretty, isn't it? Look, it's very pretty. Look at that. Ooh, lights.
Or they make stuff like Men or Midsummer or really weird stuff that just 85% of the public are just not going to even give it a shot. They're not going to really relate to it. And even movie snobs like you and me, I know I call the normie the group, but I do watch a lot of this stuff, and even I go, Jesus, I don't want to watch something and just come out of it just wanting to kill myself. Jeez.
I find it quite entertaining.
I know you do, and I worry about you.
With it, like I say, it's the writers' strike. I do understand why they've gone on strike, and I do understand that it's always with any kind of these strikes. We've had the National Health striking over here. What gets me is it's always the kind of, how can I put this nicely, the sort of lowest waged person that's striking. You never get a CEO striking. Well, the work conditions are terrible, and I'm only getting paid £60,000 pound a year. How am I supposed to survive on that? It's always those poor, the poor people at the bottom, and I mean that with the greatest respect. But it's never the higher ups who go on strike.
Well, you want to take a guy who makes the weirdest shit ever. It's David Fincher, right? Just makes like Eraserhead and things like that. Just weird stuff.
David Lynch. David Fincher.
Lynch.
Yeah,
Fincher?
I was thinking David Fincher.
What
Fight Club and Seven.
Oh, no, I'm mixing them up.
David Lynch. David Lynch.
It's very early. I haven't had my coffee. But anyway, somebody challenged him to say, why don't you make something that isn't, some weird creature baby.
Yeah.
Something like that. And so he made a Disney movie called The Straight Story. It's rated G.
Oh, yeah. And I know it, yeah.
You know it?
Oh, yeah,
guy gets on a lawnmower and goes to see his brother. And he travels like 200 miles on a lawnmower.
On a little mower.
That's the story. It's great. It's not dumb. It's not childish. It's G-rated, yes, but it's absolutely great. And a lot of people, I think, would relate to it because it's a very good, small, nice story. Yeah. It's not cheap. It's not manipulative. It's just really, really good.
Yeah.
I don't see the studios that, like at A24, trying those kinds of things. They want to be edgy. They want to be weird. They want to, they want to shock people sometimes, I think. That these independent filmmakers, they always got to do something to make it as shocking or as weird or as twisted or something that's just, to me, at this point, has gotten boring. I find more shocking in the 70 exploitation cinema or some of the horrible stuff that they did in that time than anything they do now. It's like, okay, you're being weird, you're being edgy, I get it.
I'm just
freak out.
I'm just trying to look through A24 stuff now because I'm sure I've got to find an example now. With it actually looking through all this stuff, I am looking at it and going, yeah, it's not a normie film. Yeah, it's not a normie film. The Whale, for example, The Whale is not a normie film.
It's not a normie film.
Like you say, you kind of
don't want to discourage them from making these films. These are good films. The Whale was a good film. These are all good films. Almost all of them are good films. I'm just saying, it's okay to make something that everybody likes too.
Yeah.
You don't have to be I mean, The Whale is a good film, but it's also not exactly a crowd pleaser, right? I mean, it's depressing as hell. It does, you know.
I'm still looking through the thing, and I've been scrolling and thinking, nope, yeah, nope. So no, you may have a quite a valid.
That's why I loved
one.
Everything Everywhere All at Once so much, because as weird as it was not. It was a very optimistic film. Yeah. And I just think that Oscars and Hollywood, and they're so up their own butts that the only thing they think is good is if it's nihilistic or depressing or just you know, awful. Hereditary. I mean, yes, it was a great film, but Jesus, the girl gets her head cut off. I mean, golly.
I found one. Back in 2017, they made The Disaster Artist, which was the making of The Room. By,
okay. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, you know, but that was 2017, and I had to scroll through quite a lot of films to get there. Everything else that's coming up is kind of, it doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Maybe A24 is the wrong vehicle, but it would be nice to see some independent film company that could do something that was. I mean, we were in the most nihilistic times ever in the 70s. Yeah. It was bad. And then what comes out? You get the back-to-back of Jaws and then Star Wars, which were both rousing adventure films in their own right and still very, very good. And then that followed up with what I would call the Spielberg era. And I'm not saying everything has to be like that either. Right now, I just feel like everything's either depressing or corporate swill. Thank you for watching this excerpt from Outpost Frequencies. Tune in live every Sunday at noon Central Time or 6 o'clock UK time. And also, remember to come to lastmovieoutpost.com for all your latest in movie news, streaming news, and everything cool about film. We are the cool news now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next stream.